Hey, what's good? It's your boy Bear Schiele, man. You've entered the Bear's Den. Welcome. I'm over here playing some video games, y'all. Trying to unwind. Tomorrow, my birthday. It's my big day. So, I'm just unwinding playing video games. Anyway, if you hadn't tuned in before, it's your first time, man, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to talk about all kinds of things, and we're going to grow together. We're going to do this together, me and you. So subscribe to the channel. Go find me on YouTube and plug in. Anyway, today, I'm thinking about, just reflecting. Birthday tomorrow, so a lot of things crossing my mind. And I'm just thinking about relationships, and the interaction between men and women, and how sometimes we get our signals crossed. So I'm gonna talk to y'all a little bit about it today, and we can use my experiences as an example, and hopefully we shed some light on the subject. Feel free to chime in for those that's listening, and you have a perspective. I wanna hear your perspective as well. But for me, I break it down. We're gonna talk about men because I'm a man, so I'm comfortable talking about me and how I feel in this situation. Men, it's three types of men, women. You know what I mean? When it comes to the whole dating process, it's three types of men. You have the hunter, you have the gatherer, and you have the fisherman. And I'm gonna break each one down for you, okay? With the hunter, he's your predator. He's your guy that's gonna go and be aggressive about finding a woman to get with. Because the way the dynamic between a man and a woman work, in most cases, the men have to do the pursuing. They have to do the search. They have to try to find a woman that they're compatible with in this whole relationship thing. Anyway, so you have the hunter. We've explained a little bit. That's the person that's going to be aggressively trying to go get what he wants. And then you have the gatherer. The gatherer, he's another type of dude. Not going to downplay that type of guy, but that type of guy, he's just pretty much the guy that's just gonna, pillage for anything left over, anything that the hunter didn't pick up, anything nobody else didn't kind of got with or pulled, just pretty much trying to find what's left over. And then you have the fisherman. The fisherman, he's just throwing his bait out there. You know what I mean? He's probably not aggressive enough to be a hunter, but he's too aggressive to be a gatherer. So he's just pretty much, for the most part, he's just throwing his bait out there, seeing who bite. Say, baby, you heard me? And ladies, let's do this. You know that dude that say, hey, baby, copy, and send it to 1,000 women and see who bite on that bait. So y'all have already established well that y'all know, especially in social media, that kind of guy, So anyway, with it being said, those three type of dudes, I'll talk about myself, and there's going to be some positives, there's going to be some ups and some downs to it. But I feel like for myself, I'm a hunter. I feel like, matter of fact, I feel like I'm an apex predator. I feel like I've mastered hunting, which can be a good and a bad thing. And I think in the process, I'll take you where I learned to hunt from and what gave me the instinctual vibe to hunt. For me, it was like this. Growing up, in a small town, man, I was introduced to relationships like this. Playing a game of pick 'em up and shoot 'em, that's football, in the hood. Or basketball, you talking to other dudes, the older dudes, and you hear older dudes talking about sex. So this term sex, it was something brand new to me. It was something like, oh man, sex, what's up? So, you 10 to 12, you hanging with the older heads, they talking about getting busy, getting the draws, getting booty, doing the nasty with a girl, all those different, terminologies, whatever one you choose. But anyway, so I'm ear hustling, hearing these older dudes that I'm playing sports with talking about they getting, some draws with the young ladies or whatever. So that sparked my interest in women. You know what I mean? It's not a negative or a positive, but it's just a reality. So in sparking my interest in women, the thing I gathered from that was that, you know what? I want to know about sex too. So, you know, listening to more conversations, time progressed, they talking about condoms. They talking about, you know, doing it, sneaking in somebody's window, et cetera, et cetera. So I lost my virginity at 12. And probably was the most horrible experience in the world for that woman. You know, the worst 10 seconds of her life, I'm sure. But anyway, in that process, all I was trying to do was get this elusive thing that I heard them older dudes talking about called the draws. You know, if anybody ever watched Martin, you know, him and Tom would be like, I got the draws, dog. You know what I'm saying? It was big back then in the 90s, man, you know, getting the draws. So anyway, when I finally got the draws, man, it was horrible. I'm sure for her, it was great for me, but for her, I'm sure it was horrible because that was my end game, was to get the draws. And that was it. You know, so a bunch of failed attempts, and even the successful ones were failed because in the process when I was 12 up until around 17, it was horrible because it was getting the draws, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and it wasn't no deep. All I was just really trying to do was get draws. It was never establishing anything in a relationship. It was never learning anything. So what I mastered in that process of being an apex predator, but I'm not an apex predator at this time. I'm a predator, a hunter. But what I'm doing, all I'm doing is mastering. Where is this girl positioning herself? Who is she hanging with? What is she doing? How can I get close enough to her to get the draws? And, you know, we all go through evolution. And in that process, for me, listening to music, it was this cat that caught my interest that sung Aaron Hall, who sung with Guy. Well, for me, man, them songs they were singing, it was different because they was explaining the relationship, because there's only so many times of getting the draws you realize that that's all you're doing. You're not building nothing with these women. You got 1,000 on the hit list, but you have established nothing with the woman. So Aaron came out with this CD, and on Aaron Hall's CD, he broke it down. The first song on the slow side, he talking about Don't Be Afraid, which is the introductory level of a relationship. You know, he's kind of breaking it down to this young lady that, you know, you're afraid, I'm afraid. It's still from a predatory perspective, to take in mind. But anyway, next song, he's talking about, you know, pretty much we've broken the ice, we're no longer afraid. Let's make love, you know. So it's the love-making process. You know, what we think we know about love-making sex, you know. At this point in time, you know, I'm still a kid, you know, at this time. And then he breaks down past the love-making part of it, or the intimate element of it, was after the sex, when you need me. And I was like, oh, wow. You know, I didn't think about the after sex part of it, so it just started sparking something inside of myself. You dig? And I'm just using music and music of that era to translate. And after that, you know, he came with the I miss you, meaning that somewhere between letting her know not to be afraid, making love to her, and being there when she needed him, he lost her. You know what I mean? So now he's breaking it down to me, man. You know, the relationship part of it is kind of fizzled out, and it's my fault. And I miss you. So my dude breaks it down even deeper than that. He goes into the whole concept after that, you know, well, it's time to move on, but, you know, I'll love you until the end of time. You are my love. You are my life. I'll be with you until the end of time. Pretty much, he's not with her. He's not going to be with her. He's never going to get back together. But anyway, what that did for me at this point, I'm pretty much getting ready to graduate high school. I have my first real girlfriend. And I'm starting to kind of learn relationships. But a lot of times we look back at those relationships and, you know, my first girlfriend, and I'll say my first real girlfriend, the one that I could say was a progressive relationship, was 18 and she was 21. But anyway, she played a strong role in my life because I learned so much from her. But at the time, everything that was going wrong, I put on her shoulders. It was her fault. It was her. Never looking back that, you know, like I was just breaking down relationships through this song, and the elements that developed beyond it, who I was at that time at 18, I was still a predator. I had mastered getting the draws. And it was no more fumbling and bumbling at this point because I'm 18 now. So now I'm having consistent sex with one person. This is my girl, this is my baby, this is my everything. But all I'm providing is sex. And men, you know, we don't even know what we're doing, our limitations. And I know I look back at myself, the 21-year-old me would have reflected back at the 18-year-old me and said it was her fault that we ended. But the reality of it was, I didn't bring enough to the table. It was not enough brought to the table to give her what she needed. Never any time at the movies. Never any time getting to know her. Didn't ask her what she liked, her favorite color, nothing about her. Never bought her nothing. Just pretty much, I done mastered what Aaron Hall talking about. So I know how to make it. Or I know how to present the illusion of what he talking about. I know I've mastered being a predator. So I can come at you, I could study you, and I could get the draws, dog. But that's as deep as it went. You know what I mean? It's been a predator. And I can tell you, and we're just talking about myself, it went that way all the way up until I got married. Because after breaking up with my first girlfriend, every girlfriend or every person, anybody that encountered me was just a victim. Because at that point, the heart was gone. So instead of me getting better, I got worse as a predator. So now, back then, I was just clueless. Now, I'm not so much clueless, but I'm just a predator that's heartless. Because I'm thinking, oh, she did everything wrong. She broke my heart. It's her fault. She moved on. Some other dude probably got her. Blah, blah, blah. You know how we think, dudes. It's always some other dude, not us. Anyway, so it went that way in my life up until I got married. And the trigger moment for me, even being married, was I got married for all of the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? And that's no knock on that woman. That's no knock on anybody else. But I found someone who was a friend, someone who I considered a best friend, someone who it was cool to be around her family. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me, y'all. Got to get them proteins in my system. But anyway, it was cool to be around her family. It was cool to be around her friends. It was the perfect situation because me and this young lady established a friendship. So a lot that I was lacking in all of that time in between of just being an apex predator, being a master predator, and, you know, not to toot my own horn, I was good at it. You know what I mean? But a lot of that was not substantive. It brought nothing to the table for a woman. So when I met her, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to marry this woman because we friends. And you know what? Damn. All of the rest I got. I'm smooth, I'm charismatic, I'm charming. Man, all of the women love me, you know, Mike Jones. But anyway, I think that a lot of times we look at life and we don't reflect or we don't slow down long enough to think about the deficiencies we have. Because just because someone is your best friend don't mean you can marry them and it's happily ever after. You put the ring on their finger and it's, oh, that's it. Nah, the reality of it is that when you look in a person's eyes and you know they crave more than you can give them, there's going to be an emptiness that envelops you. Because now you're wondering, man, who's she fucking? Excuse my French for those that don't do the wee-wee, but who's she fucking? Who's she messing with? Who was she hollering at? Man, what's going on the side with her? Do she really care about me? Because I can see in her eyes there's something more than our friendship that is needed for her to be complete. And the maturity or the evolution of myself, I started realizing that, you know, I gotta walk away from this because there's something she missing that someone better can provide. It's not about failed relationships. It's not about bad-mouthing her behind her name. It's not about not forgiving her for anything she's probably ever said about me. But it's about the fact that there's somebody out there that can provide her something that I just can't, because I went into it with a false premise that our best friendship is going to solve all of my deficiencies that I needed to have as a man. So we're gonna fast forward, past jumping back into the predator element of me meeting my girl now. You know what I mean? And one of my homeboys asked me, what separates this young lady from every other young lady? And look, I'm gonna tell y'all, and I try to be an open book because through my podcast, through my when you subscribe to Bear, you're gonna get real, uncut, unadulterated, just truth, who I am, the flaws and all. So anyway, when I met this young lady, man, I had no intentions of changing who I was other than self-reflecting. I was in self-reflection mode, but there wasn't no real change going on. I was still a predator. So when I met this young lady, the one I'm with now, like, I'll give you one example of what went on to where God put the right people in your life for the right reasons at the right time. But she was living, a couple of miles away from me, so we was trying to make a long distance thing work. And she hit me on FaceTime, and she hey Ted, how you doing? Blah blah blah. Looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and look, I'm seeing her putting on makeup, and I'm seeing her looking good, and I'm like, I blew a gasket, y'all. And she was like, what's up? I'm like, man, I'm looking at you on FaceTime. You putting on makeup. The fuck you putting on makeup for? Beep, 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 beep. I'm blowing up at her, And so, man, and if she ever watched this, babe, I apologize because I was wrong. But anyway, I'm blowing up at her. I'm giving her the business, y'all. And, man, I'm used to dating women that's rough and tough, man. They got some stuff to come back at me. So I was waiting on the, man, your mama so fat, or you so ugly, or your feet stink so much, or your breath stink like this, or your hair nappy like, I was waiting on them jabs to come back. I had some B words for her. I had some H words for her. I was finna give it to her, because who are you putting on makeup for? And I'm so many miles away. That's what I was thinking. So, this young lady starts crying. Crying? She ain't cursing me out? And that's not the impactful moment of it. The moment that changed me was some lady starts taking this makeup off on FaceTime. Why with me? I'm like, what you doing? She's like, well, Ted was going over and hang with my sister-in-law and my brother, but this makeup don't mean more to me than you, so I'll take it off. How you talk to me hurt me, but you mean more to me than this makeup. So yeah, we got the phone, and I called my homeboy. I'm like, dude, bro, man, let me tell you, bro. And I'm telling him, and I'm running on him. She says, oh, she's curse you out? He waiting on the good part. Nah, dude, she didn't. She told me this makeup does not mean more to her than me, and took it off. So, man, later I come back to her, and I apologize. I'm like, man, I'm so sorry, baby, I'm just used to it. I had a bunch of excuses. Whatever I'm about to say, just don't. I'm not even going to say what I was about to say. I was going to make a bunch of excuses to what I was thinking. Who cares what I was thinking? I was ready to go at her head, man, because of the makeup. She was looking good, too. And all I could think was negative thoughts. And the patience of this woman allowed me to see that I need to research deep down inside a lot deeper. Because like I told you, you got the hunter. You know what? You got the fisherman. You got the gatherer. You hunt for what you want. You fish, you throw your bait out there for what you want, and you just pillage for what you want and get the leftovers. However it go, through all the process, those are the actions it takes to get a woman. But when you get a woman, you got your introductory game. You got your follow-up. You got your follow-up, your follow-through, however you want to do it. But you got your introductory, you got your follow-through, and you got your closing. Man, I had never mastered, and this is what most predators do, like myself. So if you got a daughter and you're trying to teach her about a predator, or like a guy like I just described, they don't go no further than introductory game. When it comes down to it, have them sit down with the family. Have them get to know you, because he doesn't have any follow-through, nor does he have any closing. Because all he's ever learned to do was get her alone and get the draws, dog. So I had to reflect, looking at, like, my woman the woman I'm with now. And it's been many of these situations to where her response or her reaction to me was, I wrong? I was as wrong as two boys having sex in the back of a church. Just wrong. Anyway, I'm joking. For anybody that's gay, I'm just joking. That was just a joke. Anyway, I'm wrong. And a lot of my reactions in the past with women have been wrong. But the right woman in the right mix, in the right situation, taught me enough about things I needed to do to improve who I am, to where we're not perfect in a relationship. And it's not going to say we're going to stay in a relationship. You know, I really feel strongly that this is the one for me, blah, 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 all of that. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you that the thing that made her stand out from all of the other women was her patience and understanding. I got some things to work on, and that she's going to have to be patient with me. You know what I mean? And it taught me to be patient with her through the things that she has to work on. Now, we done got into all of that. I'm talking about relationships, guys. In a relationship, you have to go from point A to B, knowing there may be another change along the way. And you can't go on this journey without, you know, understanding that there's a B that you may be equally yoked on, but by B to C, one of you may have transitioned, changed, and so on and so on. It's a process. And the only person that can get to the end of that process with you is the person that's meant for you. But if you don't search deep down within inside your own soul and get a better understanding of who you are, or have a person patient enough for you to figure out who you are, it's going to be a never-ending cycle of loneliness, or you making excuses. That person did this, but-ism, you know. I did this, but they did, you know. It's a whole bunch of that. And there's a bunch of lonely people sitting around this earth just making excuses that ain't nothing wrong with them. You know, I look back and I've been blessed. I don't have anything negative to say about any of the women I've been with in my past. I wrote a poem once, and it started like this. I'm going to give it to y'all. And I hope that this poem impacts you a little bit. I'm just going to give you a little introduction of it, though. But anyway, it went something like, men taught to be men by men who were never taught to be men. Let it sink in. Women showing their skin just to fit in. I'm going to give it to you one more time. Men taught to be men by men who were never taught to be men. And women showing their skin just to fit in. Think about what I'm saying. And I transitioned you all the way back to when I was a kid. Me and my dad never had them sit down talks. Rest in peace to Roosevelt. Schiele. You was the best. You did everything you could. But we never sat down and talked about relationships. So I was a man being taught to be a man by men who were never taught to be men. We was just playing football, and I'm hearing an exchange of getting the draws, dog. And that sparked an interest. Not getting to know a woman. Not learning about a relationship. Not learning to slow dance. Not learning to hold, nothing. You know, and from the transition to who I was to the person that I am now, who's a person that's still working on being a better person, that's what this podcast about. That's what my channel is about, is Bear Schiele's road to being a better person. That hopefully we can become a better person together for those that tune in. But anyway, that's what it was about for me. That's what it's always been about. I left a lot of women with scars that may never heal because I was a person that wasn't willing to invest in that woman. So I close on this note. Whether you're a hunter, fisher, or gatherer, if you don't plan on investing in what you're pursuing, what you doing, dude? You know what I mean? What you doing? Past 20, that's almost like something wrong with you, man. You know what I mean? Past 21, it's like, dude, what you doing? So at some point, you still trying to figure out different exotic ways to get the draws, bruh. Man, reevaluate that situation. Take it from an OG like myself who tomorrow is going to celebrate another birthday. There's more to it than that. And if you tap into the more to it, you realize how negligent you were in all of your older relationships, your past relationships, your previous relationships. So again, man, y'all find my YouTube channel. Tune in, subscribe. We're gonna do this thing together. We're gonna have fun doing it. It's gonna be some hurt feelings, it's gonna be some growing. And if somebody has something they wanna chime in, tune in, correct something I said, or give a contrasting view to it, by all means, feel free to do it. That's what this is about.
I remember back when a nigga pockets wasn't looking tight, standing left to the mother girls and they was looking right. Now a nigga looking right, got a little change. 22s when I swing while I'm gripping grain. Them bitches coming, but I'm sticking to my woman. She the one held me down back when I didn't have nothing. Now ain't it funny how the tables turn when a nigga wanted the holiday was singing us a